We're in the Hill County Courthouse. A quorum of the commission is present and established. This meeting was posted in accordance with Texas Government Code 551 and the Texas Elections Code, which gives notice to the elections administrator 4 days in advance. First order of business today will be our open forum. Is there anybody here for open forum? Being there's nobody in the courtroom, even though this meeting was posted accordingly, is there anybody online that is here for open forum today? And the word today is no, there is not. So we had nobody sign up. So that being said, the next item is approved minutes. Since our treasurer is not here and our secretary is not here, I suggest we pass on that. Number 3 is discuss under action on election administrator report. Mr. Election Administrator, Aaron, what you got so far?
So far, early vote is gone for the first 2 days. We've had 14 voters, 14 on the first day, 28 on the second.
I'm surprised there's that many.
When I showed up at 10:45 on the first day, the second time I was there, and I was number 5 on the day.
Yeah, well, nobody knows about it. I thought constitutional had 1 week of early voting. I guess it's just runoff as 1 week. So, okay. Okay.
So we got the 2 there.
And it is at Covington. Yeah, okay.
I like the traffic flow. It's rather ugly at the moment. Don't get me wrong. It's not your fault. That's ours. But I like the way the traffic flow is set up. And it seems like it's working out well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that set up for election day for precinct 2 there.
Have the ramps been sufficient to this point?
Had anybody that's needed.
Okay.
They're
There you
doing
go.
great. Glad they're there in case anybody does anything.
Just to get over the,
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Oh.
basically, we had Mr. Crumpy come in and take care of some of that, to build some ramps in front of the doors into the sidewalk.
Just to be sure.
Patching.
okay.
It's going to get fixed in the long run permanently when we do the project down there, but for right now, we needed to make sure that we didn't have any accessibility issues. So, okay, anything else from our election administrator?
I've mailed out 10 ballot by mail. I have another 9 to 10 that have applications out that need to get back to us about the process.
Okay,
Other than that, I mean, it's just going slowly.
Okay.
Everything's running as smooth as it can. It's just
I talked in regards to your wanting to combine signature verification and ballot board together. Talked to John, who served last time as a judge early vote ballot board. He's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
State on that, and they said we could. I could do it when I needed to, and as long as you guys designate, it's fine as well.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, in code, it signature verification, you can create a signature verification committee. You have to have an early vote ballot board.
I mean, with our old equipment, I could definitely understand.
Right.
Doing signature verification. The ballot board have to sit there and process any ballots that should have our old standard. But now,
Mhm.
it's plug and play, our workloads are there instantly, so.
Yeah.
their job, I think, is to shift to verification.
We'll look at that again come primary. Just, I mean, I understand completely what you're saying in regards to, now with the new system, you don't have to determine how a voter voted, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. But just the whole brouhaha over mail-in ballots and the new
I tend to agree with
new code. Does it take effect on primary?
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right. You never know when it is they decide, okay. So yeah, so we may still do it for primary in general, just so is,
No, I get it completely, because as big of a brouhaha this last session that mail-in ballots were, they not have a signature verification committee, even though they do nothing basically, could be construed as us not doing our job.
Exactly.
And I hate to waste anybody's time, but at the same time,
yeah.
I'd like to be able to cover all bases there.
But for the constitutional amendment, I agree with you. It's fine.
All right, let's talk about training on elections administrator report.
I haven't gotten to the update on the training just yet. I'll be working on that probably over the weekend.
Okay,
As far as training goes, all the judges that I've talked to, I told them when we're gonna have them.
what is the training dates again?
The 31st.
30th and 31st.
10 o'clock, 10 in the morning on the 30th, 1 o'clock and on the 31st.
Is that 31st Sunday?
So make sure the time is appended on.
And where are you having it?
That one, I'm not sure yet.
Well, down at the Franklin Street Annex?
I mean, yeah, I could have it there in our office.
I think so. You got enough room in there. I mean,
It's not even over here at the annex.
well, yeah, you can do it in the back room. Quite frankly, that's not a bad idea either. Using the back room where the Father's Day jury pool is there.
Well, and even the actual our actual polling location right
Can you do it in the polling
now. It
location?
won't be up and running.
Yes, good point. Okay, I'm sorry, just hesitant of visuals, always
I can
hesitant of
take my
visuals.
testing equipment over there, have it set up for them to go through and do setup with it, and, just kind of get
Okay.
everything assimilated with it.
Solve that. So October 30th, it's 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. to noon, if need be, and then on the 31st from 1 to 3.
1 p.m. Okay. good.
And like I said, given the fun of COVID, if we're recruit some people, if I need to do a one-on-one with them to go through, I mean, like I said, have them go there too, but to go through the PowerPoint of that and be sure they get with you on operating machinery. I mean, we just want to be sure the judge knows what they're doing, is comfortable, and if they can do it with me and then
If
you,
you need any one-on-ones, I can always get set up in our office.
Okay.
for them to have a run through if they can make it to, if they can't make it to the actual training sessions.
okay. All right.
All right, anything further on the election administrator report?
So you haven't decided where you're gonna have training yet?
I'm thinking they're at the actual polling location.
At Covington Street.
At Covington,
Okay.
okay, I mean, just so I can, I mean, even though you tell them, I get them all asking me, what is it? So I just want to be sure I'm telling them what you're telling them.
Email sign up sheet that's got the location, the
I
time.
think that's a good idea. Walk them through your setup and how you've got it set up in the flow. It's more than just hands-on about how the computers work or how the equipment, but also about how the polling location should flow.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anybody needs to change anything drastically out and about where we do things. There are a couple locations I've heard of that could have a little better flow.
Yeah. The COVID was the first time we finally made every judge stop and really look at flow, and that made a big difference.
Yes.
Hopefully we can continue that.
It's
So,
actually nice that we were able to get the fire department.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that was-
Especially.
whoa, Aquila,
You want door in.
McCown, not McCown, 2604, Malone. Yeah.
Malone's been one for years.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Penelope was always really good, and Hubbard was usually pretty good about it, but yeah, they'll get those other ones. Anyway,
Anything else?
I had spoken with the judge the other day, whenever we were at a conference, the South Otex booth, they actually have new scanners that aren't just a camera, it's actually like
Illuminated.
illuminating itself, so it can actually face the voter when they're checking in, so they don't actually have to hand their ID card. They can just
Nice.
stick it under, scan, pop them up over here.
so you don't have to touch.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly, is what my thought was.
Okay.
Don't take long to off.
11, little over 11,000. Then they
Taxpayer
also-
money.
Then they also have updated laptops.
Hardware, software.
So,
Oh,
and they're doing a.
But they also did have a buyback.
Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, that's probably good to do. Just it's old technology. With only a couple, wait, we've been using those about, yeah, you've been using them, you
I
know.
went ahead and,
This is what, 16?
I told Aaron to go ahead and get us a quote, we'll get a formal quote from, him, see what it's gonna cost, what they'll give us for the old equipment, just.
Yeah.
See where we're at and see if that's something that's in the realm of our budget or not.
Well, they know that that scanner was garbage. So,
Yes, it was.
everything else for the tech is great. It's
Yeah.
just that, and like you can type in, but yeah, with our new world of nobody wants to touch anything, I think
I'm
that's,
pretty sure that whole Sturdy signature was actually that one kiosk.
huh,
Because I haven't had it. I
Yeah.
took precinct 4
mhm.
and set it up early. And we haven't had any issues.
It's hilarious. I mean, going through, I mean, that first day when we opened it up, I was just, and most of our, then it was bizarre things that didn't work. Like, wait, that wasn't at all we thought was gonna clunk out on us. So there's still, I think, some hardware issues there, but yeah. So that alone, I would love to get new hardware just to,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, everything's working,
Training is not paid, correct?
Mhm.
You guys, what I thought.
No,
just a pickup.
Yeah.
After. But yeah, everything's flowing smoothly. I was able to get everything cameraed out, like, I've definitely learned from all the issues I had with the new part system when we were setting up in general, all the little nuances, screw ups in there, and I had our site support here, he walked me through it, we figured it out, he come back and we figured it out, so.
given it was a brand new system, brand new people, I'm amazed how smoothly general did go.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, so.
definitely. I'm very, very happy with that.
Well, it'd be nice to have this election to flush out any other little, bugs and then,
The one they would give me was the extra precincts, like having one with say like with Mount Calm, we have one that has all the propositions in Mount Calm.
Oh.
We have one that's just Mount Calm.
Oh, but that's your job.
It's just-
I can't help you with that.
And, like during the May elections, you know, Mount Calm didn't tell me that I needed to have an extra ballot stop for across the county line. And it's just like, okay, just, you know, print out your regular ballot and just have them vote on that. But yeah, it's just little things that you have to learn on the way. I'm pretty sure I got all that ironed out for this one, so going forward now, it's just.
Well, the primary, I mean, even though there's more candidates to deal with, the process is actually more simple, it's more straightforward.
It is very straightforward. I do like that it, when you're trying to actually finalize it, it makes you go through, like you've already approved everything, it makes you go through a verification. Like you get into this one screen and it'll have check, X, you know, something you missed, something you forgot.
And that's through the Hart system?
Entire ballot set up on letter size paper. But then, you know, in English it's fine, in Spanish it's fine, but if you do English and Spanish, Mount Calm's ballot caused it to be longer than a column, so it's like.
Formatting.
I have to, yeah, it wouldn't let me format it the way I wanted to, so I had to switch to the legal sense. So little things like that, it actually tells you, hey, this is not gonna work.
Okay.
Interesting.
I thought that
So it
was-
makes your job easier. Good. No?
Well, on the more, yeah, have to go back and figure out. okay, what is that?
Well, but instead of having to be,
Yeah.
it's helping guide you, keep you from, yes, good.
It is very straightforward, it helps out a lot.
And that's the Hart software, basically, as you're creating the ballot, setting up the ballot style. Okay. Good. It still seems like Hart was the right decision for us to go with.
So, I mean, I haven't had any complaints, everybody during the general loved it.
Yeah.
One of the attorneys, Jack Gannon, was sitting there watching us throughout. He'd come out and watch the line, be out to the road, come back, about, you know, 15, 20 minutes later, long's on.
Mhm.
Come over and, you know, said we're doing a heck of a job and that we really appreciate it. And he was glad that we were, it's just, so.
Contrary to popular belief, there are people in Hill County who are trying to make it a better place.
Yeah.
All right, anything further from election administrator?
Not at this point, sir.
All right, keep it up. If something comes up, please let us know. Party chair reports. Today, they're my party chairs. Have anything?
We have to take reports, please, you need more people to work, let me know. I've got several that called me and asked if they were needing to work this election or not. So
Good deal.
Do you have any limit on number of people to help serve? I mean,
I'm thinking at least two
yeah.
clerks.
Well, I'm thinking if skeleton crew is going through, anybody you've got who wants to help clerk or, you know, judge, I mean, yeah.
Okay, good deal.
I mean, I'll put the call out too, but yeah, mine are, been serving so long, they're starting to fall a little bit. So I've got to get another round recruited, but
I think this is Nelly's last go around.
That's what she told me.
yeah. So, and I've been working people, you know, I mean, I can get tons of people from Whitney to show up and want to help out, but trying to get other parts of the county represented is
Yeah, it was funny.
proving more difficult.
Where they were at, where they were from, actually living in.
Yeah.
Where I am, it's like, wow, it's concentrated here.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, the best thing happen is if we, you know, use a Democrat to be the judge at one of these places, I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's fine. And if somebody's a student enough to go, well, how come the Democrat? Because none of y'all want to work, you know, like, oh. I
I mean, that's
mean,
always the thing, they always, well, this is a, you know. They always come back with the party.
right,
Yeah.
It's just, so that's kind of why I
Yeah.
try to keep it as even as
Yeah.
possible. So nobody
well,
outside of-
I'm gonna keep working on this list because we've got, these are some weak, 10, I thought I had, it's because David's sick, we can't help that. But these other areas, you know, I'm gonna keep recruiting. I mean, if you got folks who are willing to do it and we can use Kirk, I mean, it's all hands on deck to get enough people. So, I mean, if you get somebody appointed and I find somebody, I mean, if somebody, you folks have committed to do it, do it. If you need clerks, I get clerks because I got to still get these folks eventually trained up anyway. So, I mean, a double pincher is not a bad thing.
I even honestly think that it's gonna be an alternate to handle most of these.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just so slow.
Right. But like I said, I was hoping to try to get more people clerks, just get more people trained up on the equipment. I mean, this is an easy one to learn because you're not gonna be under stress. So it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal. Anything further from our party chairs?
Praise the Lord, it sounds like we're not gonna have a fourth session. That's what I'm hearing as of last night. The word from Abbott's crew is he's done waving his magic wand. And supposedly, I know there's gonna be some lawsuits, but he's supposed to sign today or tomorrow, the maps, so.
Unless there's a junction at federal level, there's nothing's gonna stop us from holding a primary in March right now.
Right, that's-
We're in good shape. to do
That is the word that everybody, the only other thing I've got to verify is, I swear on the Senate bill, it said that filing began November 29th through December 13th.
Correct.
And so everybody else is saying filing begins November 13th through, I'm like, I don't think,
No.
under a normal calendar, that was true.
Correct.
But the Senate passed the bill and it was signed. So my understanding is, no, we've got a 2-week window to file.
Correct.
Okay,
That's where we're at.
I keep trying to,
We reviewed that yesterday as part of another program looking at it, but yeah, every scenario
Okay.
they envisioned is 2 weeks. You're right, though. We came across that as the 29th to the 13th.
the primary dates and runoff dates and all that now would be the same, but the filing is a completely different beast.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right, so that's,
So clear your calendar for the 29th and we'll come see it.
yeah, no, that's what if I could stop long enough to send out an email to everybody, I'm trying to, I've been waiting to hit send to,
And I think we're still on at this point. Everything we see, the governor's going to sign these maps as presented to him. I have no doubt about that. Maldev's already filed their lawsuit. There's
Yeah.
a couple other joiners. LULAC will file shortly, I believe. Again, I don't think that's going to have any huge changes to these maps whatsoever. If there are any changes to it, it won't be the overall map of Texas. It will be a
Right.
minor thing here or there, as it always is in the past. And I just don't see that going very far. I know traditionally, we've passed the maps. And then once it's passed, yeah, there's legal fights, but the courts say, no, you're gonna operate on these maps until we sort it out at a later date. So I just don't see that changing too much this time.
there was some gritching about some House and some Senate, the congressionals get the most, but the Senate, I'm not as familiar with, but on the House and Hunter's work and all that, they did a pretty good job, of trying to, there's such huge shifts in population.
It was interesting, to
Oof.
say the least, so.
Yeah, anyway,
All right, so we're still on for a March primary as far as we know at this point, and we'll have sign-up date for parties. Anybody's gonna run for office from November the 29th until December the 13th.
2-week window.
2-week window,
Crazy.
crazy short, yeah. All right, in which case, let's move along to the reason I think most of us are here today, which is discussing our action on redistricting voting precincts in Hill County. Gentlemen, as it stands right now, we have a total of 22 voting precincts, which is an inordinate number of precincts, as you well know, and obviously discussions we've had a minute ago, finding people to operate. I would like to see us do no more than 16 precincts, and if we can find a way to get it lower than that, I'm open. And 16 is just a number fixated upon that gives you 4 precincts for each of the constable, JP, and commissioner precincts. And I think there's some obvious weak points in the current map that can be cleaned up pretty quickly. The things that we need to take, from the redistricting council for the county, I will quote you directly from the email here so that we're all on the same page. We've retained Professor Mike Morrison to be our redistricting counsel. I'm not taking care of that right now. Justin left his glasses on his bedside again, which is a terrible way of doing things. Okay, so basically what he's telling us is that some of the general considerations include readily identifiable boundaries. Okay, for polling places, prioritize accessibility, including handy and safe parking, good air conditioning and heating, protection from the elements while waiting in line, especially for minority areas. Can polling places be combined precincts be located more or less centrally? I think, that's something we have to look at. We don't want to put polling places somewhere out of the way, hard to reach. Addressing precincts with traditionally high or very low turnout is important consideration, but care should be taken not to unduly burden those who have now traveled greater distances to vote. Again, when it comes to that branding, we're voting, what, 9 people on primary? That's just,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to put that out there. Those are things that we need to look out, and of course, countywide voting would solve this, but we haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah.
Maybe the Texas Secretary of State will go ahead and approve that. What I'm giving you right now is Election Code Title 4, Chapter 42. And this basically lays out our county election precincts, what we're talking about, the rules of government. obvious things that we can't do. We can't split it across multiple, oh, you got a copy? Good deal.
Yeah, I got my copy.
All right, so we have, you can't split it across multiple election precincts. JP Commissioner, we cannot split them across congressional districts, which is not a concern for us. We can't split voting precincts across House districts, again, not a concern for us in the current maps. And last but not least, we can't split them across Senate precincts, which again, not a concern. So the only thing we really have to worry about is the lines for JP, Constable and Commissioner, which are all unified now. And the two changes to this map are going to be: one, there will be a change in the city of Hillsborough, moving 5 blocks. And then 2, there will be change in residents in outlying areas of precinct 2, go from precinct 1 to precinct 2. It's a single house and it will contain 2 individuals at this point. So those aren't even anything really that much that I think we're concerned about. Now it comes down to, how do we consolidate some of these precincts? What's acceptable to the group? What can we do in order to reduce the number of voting precincts, yet still keep it where we're not making it a burden for people to vote? We make it ease of operation. I've always heard the argument, hey, everybody drives into Walmart to get their groceries. I agree. However, I don't think we can cut it down to 1 voting precinct. That's not a realm possibility. So
What? Wait a minute.
I know.
Something that's actually basically trying to do that.
I think that's a bridge too far.
And then,
Well, in a rural county, it's,
I think we'd all get shot, probably.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the big deal. But the obvious ones you look off, the maps I printed out for you are current precinct maps. We can draw all over these, whatever. I see obvious things that could possibly go away. 19 into 10, 27 into 20. You get over in that Whitney area, precinct 1 is a bit of a mess. We've got 22, 12, 21, and those are L and 5. So yeah, 22, 21, 12, 5, 27, and 20. We have a total of 6 precincts there. I really think we need no more than 4. I understand that these precincts were built upon some archaic lines that I don't understand. I just don't feel compelled to go with whatever previous reasoning there was. What do we do moving forward? And
I have answers for most of your questions.
I'm as soon as-
Pull up my
good
spreadsheet.
deal, good deal.
As far as I'm still wanting to do countywide, we'll go a long way for us to try and centralize and we have better service there.
I
We
agree.
have to have connections for our check-ins if we do go countywide.
Well,
So I mean, this is a step forward in doing that.
well, can we start with what things I think we have to have? Locations. Itasca, we have to have off of 35, the Hillco Event Center. I think that's a necessity. You have to have Blum. There's just no way around that. Yeah. So then, Hillsborough, obviously, we're gonna have a Covington Street annex. That's going to be something that has to be there. Where is the Covington Street? It's right in that area somewhere, I guess. Man, I can't see it well
It's
enough.
right there.
Right there. I think it's right in that
It's a
area.
fat finger.
Hubbard, I think, is a must.
I think 16 and 15 could come together.
I tend to think that's the case. I don't know about 23 and 24, but I think you could take parts of 15, put it into 23, a part of 15, put it into 24, and a part of 15 into 16.
Yeah.
18 can definitely either go into 16 or 8.
18 is a precinct 4.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Forgive me. So 18 and 9 can be consolidated.
Yeah.
And
So 18 and 9 together, 4 on its own, 10 and 19.
so, all right. Consolidate 19 into 10. Consolidate 27 into 20. 18 and, so here's a question. The 18 and 9 become 1 precinct, or do you push them all into 4? I mean, it's a long ways from Irene, Texas back over to Hillsborough, and you will help and you'll hurt, I promise you.
so 18 and 9 is in precinct 4?
Yes, sir.
Precinct 4?
Yes, sir. It's just that population is so weird.
3, 8, 7, 15, 16, 23.
Yeah, 3, 7, 8,
Yeah.
15, 16, 23, 24. So 18 into 9?
18 has a better polling location.
I
Hold
agree.
up.
I agree, but then that puts you all the way from Carl's Corner all the way. I mean, it's doable, but
Could we not take Carl's and put it to 10?
that's what I'm thinking. Put
Well-
Carl's Corner into 10 and then who is this? It's not my problem. You know, put everything north of 35 into 10 and then, you know, a couple options there. You can move, you know, everything north of 35, that includes this part of precinct 4 into 10. If you took 18, 9 and rest of 4 and stuck it in 4, is that doable?
Find my
Hey, I-
spreadsheet. I've got it
That's the same
saved. I
problem
worked
after
last night
that.
at midnight and I saved it and I know it's on this thumb drive and I'm just trying to find it here. Because as you look at the entire county, there's actually for precinct 4, there's some simple things that make it work pretty easy. It's gonna, now my question really is, when you have certain precincts that are overly weighted with the number of voters who are in that area, how difficult is it with the software to like carve out a line to figure out, you know?
We're not,
That would be more.
well, I mean,
People on the streets and.
our election voting precincts, there's no requirement for one man, one vote for the voting.
Right.
precincts. So I agree that we have to be cognizant of the fact that we get, you know, 1,000 people here and 4 over here would be irrelevant. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But once we draw some lines, I can send it to Mike Morrison.
Let's see how close it gets. Because, and I will find it here in a second. So what ends up happening, and we'll just go 4, 3 this way.
That's fine.
Yeah, 18 and 9 need to combine. And then I think what needs to happen, if we're gonna say we keep 19, 10, 4, and call this 9, new district 9, let's say,
Okay.
that we actually are going to need to take some population off of 4
Mhm.
and throw it into new 9
Yeah. I
to
got you.
to reduce the if possible the volume that goes through 4. The same thing is going to happen for 19 if we keep it. Ideally, in a perfect world, we'd flip 19 and 27, in my opinion. However, I know this is a committee. We've already got those lines drawn. That's
Mhm.
creates blah 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 blah. I understand. So what I'm thinking is for like 19, maybe we take a line maybe straight down and kind of try to fold some population.
Around down 171 and have
Yeah.
everybody route back into Covington that way?
Well, this is 171 is the
Yeah,
line
I'm
between
sorry,
the
down
two.
parallel
So if
to
we
it.
took some line, and we'll look at the way people travel, you know, but like take a chunk of geography here, fold that in 19, that because 19 needs more people and this new 9 needs more people.
Okay.
So if we could take some of 4, you know, I don't think it would take very hard to look at a geographic line to see how people are driving
Mhm.
and put that into there and some of 10 into there. Then all of a sudden you'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 precincts now that are much more evenly distributed in terms of number of voters. There's 2 things for that. You know, everybody thinks of voting day, and I get that. But as a party, as we're trying to recruit, if we're supposed to have judges from that area, supposed to have precinct chairs from that area, it gets so hard
Mhm.
in so many areas of our county. Also, balancing out people makes it much easier on the party officials to have more warm bodies to recruit from, if at all possible.
Okay.
So in my mind, doing that for 4 ends up becoming pretty easy.
Okay, gives you 4 precincts. in
Gives you 4
precinct
precincts. And even though Mertens is absolutely the better one, the Brandon Community Center is centrally located.
Okay, so let's talk about those then. So let's figure Brandon would be there.
Mhm. Well, let's call it new voting precinct 9, which
Okay.
would be 18 and 9 combined,
Okay, and
with
then,
portions of 4 from Mountain Springs and State Highway 22 folded into new 9. to reduce some of that number in 4.
So what about like just this section here that's on this side of 35?
Yeah, could be. I mean, it's funny when you look at, oh, here's Hillsborough, but no, this, you look at how many people registered to vote in Ford, that number is way bigger than this little section of Country Club in Hillsborough. So there's a tremendous amount of population in all these areas. So it's a little tricky, but I think we could take a stab and kind of from, the new line for here wouldn't be any more from 35 over, and probably be a touch less than that in my mind.
Okay.
Just trying to figure how many heads really. And then for 19, I think in reality, we need to carve off the far western portion of 10 and fold that into 19 to kind of,
So just elongate 19.
Yeah.
4.
yeah, and try to equal out, because most of those people, from here are going to feed out to 171, which goes right to Covington.
Right.
So that's logistically speaking, that's pretty simple, I think. Yeah, you've got to know on election day, you've got a different polling location, but you're still the same commissioner precinct, still the same JP and all that. We're just trying to reallocate the number of heads per polling location.
Correct.
All right. When you go to 1, same thing. Combining 27 into 20 worked pretty nicely in terms of the overall number of registered voters there. I think 21, you leave 21 alone. Now, ironically,
Okay. I'd like to roll some of 12 and
Well-
the 12 into 21, some of 12 into 22 if possible.
so this is the conundrum with 1 is Woodbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an issue.
It's,
We have the same problem with the fire departments, the same problem with emergency response.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just geographically isolated.
it is geographically isolated. It's one of our absolute worst polling locations
Yeah.
for accessibility and everything else. Most folks in whenever we do combine polling locations, Woodbury usually goes to Hillsborough to vote. However, that's crisscrossing commissioner and precinct lines and all stuff. So if we're going to do some Woodbury, it's got to go back this way.
Mhm.
All the people here usually don't flow this way because there's no road there. I mean, you got to go down to 22 and cut across.
Probably not all the way to 934.
Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, if we're trying to even out the numbers, from a spreadsheet, it's easy to do. 27 goes to 20, 21 stays with 8, 22 stays the same, 12 and 5 go together. And magically those numbers work really nice.
I see-
Polling location
Yeah,
throws a kink in that.
exactly. Because I see pulling 12 from way over here or all the way over there. We're gonna hear
Yeah.
about that.
And there's neither 12 nor 5 have any decent polling locations.
Amen to that. So that's the reason part of me was like, hey, can we just roll parts of 12 into 22 and 21? Hell, we could even take some of 12 and put it over in 5 and just basically get rid of 12.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that is what needs to happen to 12. It needs to either be absorbed 3 directions. And I don't know if there's just not a good solution for Woodbury for 5. For people driving and for polling location,
My 10 cents is add to it.
to add to 5 and try to increase the number there.
Yes, sir. I agree that the polling location is not ideal, but when you get out there, I mean, and that it's just geographically isolated.
Yeah,
It's the same reason we have a fire department there that gets 3 or 4 calls a month because it takes so stinking long
Yeah.
for Peoria to respond or anybody else to respond. So when it comes down to it, I think that if we're stuck with it, the best thing we can do is add a little more of that rural area 12 into it, especially going down there to 6 at 22 and pouring that back into it. And then that means we take a little bit here into 21, which is not a problem.
right.
And we take this part and roll it into 22 because that's a state park. There's really nobody down there.
Exactly. Yeah, 12 really doesn't have, I mean, that's kind of,
Doesn't have-
12 is a tough place to recruit election judges. I still can't get a precinct chair at 12.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like you look at all that geography, but there's just not that many people there. So, yeah, and if we want to, I mean, we'll look at it and see.
So-
I mean, that would be the simple slap. You could always carve a little bit off of this if we needed
Oh,
to
yeah.
kind of throw some more numbers into there to kind of
No
try to
doubt.
equal that out. Because this starts, I mean, there are so many people starting to move into this part of the county. And it's going to start to overload that. we always know 21, 22, but we have to be cognizant that Blum is starting to become a very big box.
It is.
So that may be something where if we're making life miserable for a lot of people, let's just make it miserable for everybody and go ahead and carve. We might end up carving a little bit of this geography of 12 and stuff, to get into 5 to make it more evenly split. I'm certainly for that.
Okay.
And then, and that may be, something where we stop and focus. There's a Baptist church in Woodbury, there's the Woodbury Center. Is there some way to, I know the county built a ramp into the community center a while back.
With some other ramp builders right now about maybe making something more permanent. The county was limited because it's taxpayer funds, we could only do. However, working with Home Depot and working with a group we met the other day, we're going to talk about possibly putting a more permanent solution there to the ramp and something that's actually got an angle that doesn't take a rocket assist to get up.
Yeah, no, I just, and maybe we just have to, come up with some creative solutions like that. There's not an accessible restroom there, obviously.
None.
And I know in the past, and people are used to it out there. I know the judges have made accommodation if need to take a ballot, but, and that can be done. You can,
It's just
they
not
check it.
ideal.
It's not ideal. Versus at least 22 if we keep the Cowan Valley / Cowboy Church. One of the things I've thought about for 22 is potentially moving it to the Cowboy Church.
Well, if they allow it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Because that voting precinct, even though it's a good facility, gets full really quick. Particularly if we've got bad weather, you got people standing outside. The fellowship hall of the Cowboy Church is huge. There's plenty of room to bring people inside. And if hopefully we don't have another pandemic, but hey, it's happened once, let's plan for it again. There's be plenty of room for people staying undercover, separate, and I think that even the 2604 for 21, that fire station is not really big enough for all the people there. It's the only thing. If we be sure they move the vehicles out on election day, that made a huge difference. When everybody's back in that little bitty room in 20, oh my gosh, I get claustrophobic back there. That is too small. So
What about the back of the BFW hall in their conference room back? They've got a meeting room. I don't know if it's any larger than 2604.
but there's also,
I've given some speeches back there. It's a lot. It's bigger than this.
isn't, oh gosh, I gotta think of the church. There's a Baptist church there that's slowly dying, but,
Down 2604?
yeah, if you keep going all the way down, the big church, what ones I'm thinking of? Well, anyway,
I don't know what you're talking about.
where's the VFW hall there?
Just the other side of the, fire department, by about a quarter mile, not even that far.
Oh, okay. Well, that might be, if we're gonna do a little fruit basket turnover, this might be the time to look at all these things to try to get some of those. Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yes.
So 21, we have either the Fort Graham Baptist Church.
Yeah, no, they got a huge facility there. Whenever they built it back in the day, I don't think they have the people there today, unfortunately, but,
You have to drive a little bit further down.
yeah, but for as many people who voted 21, that's always just giving me the heebie-jeebies of how tight that space is. We really need more. So either maybe we can start looking at Fort Graham or I've never been in that VFW. Yeah, it's huge.
So there's some consensus to just basically absorb 12 and parts of 12 into 22, 21, 5, and possibly put some of 20 into 27. And if we need to.
Yeah, let's look at those numbers and see where we're sitting. If this is still or if it looks like it's starting to overload these, then we could chop some off.
Okay.
Rather than say that's underrepresented, let's just say if it starts to overload these facilities, then we might need to lop something off to share. Okay. All right. For 2.
All right.
Pretty simple. 6 and 2 go together.
Okay.
the numbers work really nice to even out that quantity.
And that's another one, Peoria is another one of those voting centers.
Right.
But,
Right.
Still has those row addresses, so it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and people, that's to combine that into two is, I think everybody's expecting it anyway.
okay,
13 has got too many people.
yeah,
The Lutheran Church, same thing. It's a great place. It is overloaded on election day. It doesn't have enough room. We really need to, and then what's funny is we really need to lock off some of 13 and put into 14.
wow. Okay,
Even though 14 is, you've got a good turnout and good numbers of people, if you combine these two, then Aquila is the smallest.
what's the actual number in there? Because going all the way to Abbott, it's a very rural area. I just don't have the numbers on population.
I did all this work at midnight last night.
The population or vote registered voters.
I guess registered voters would be fine.
Yeah.
Your Aquila,
Yes, sir, for the 14.
1,137 is registered voters, 806 voted in the 2020 no election.
Okay, how many in 13? How many registered voters?
13 is 2,923,
Double. All right, how about 6?
6 is 431,
And and one last one, how about 2?
2 is 1,118.
Okay, so if you combine 6 and 2, then suddenly you're over 1,500.
Mhm,
And so then you've only got, you said 14 is 1,000 roughly?
mhm.
14, 1,137.
Yeah,
So it's actually, yeah. So, I mean, now you're also talking 3 instead of 4. All right. So the numbers are a little higher, but I mean, you've got on election day, you got like,
mhm.
this is just it's overloaded.
So the question is then, a couple of ways, how do we do that line?
Well, I think,
Because there's really nobody out here, man. There's a
Yeah.
house every mile.
yeah, I would say that we try to just geographically try to carve out as much of this. Because people who certainly, if they're going down 933 to go to Aquila is just as easy as going
I
that
could
way.
definitely say cutting down 1534, because you take that subdivision,
Mhm.
lands between the lakes there, and that's going to alleviate some of that. And you
Yeah.
come back over,
Yeah.
this way or something.
Yeah, I mean, to jump up and at least carve some of that out. And like I said, and it's Aquila is not the best polling location in terms of volume, but 13 has just got too many people.
You can't roll anybody else in there. That's for
No,
sure.
nobody can go into 13. We got to cut 13, make it smaller.
Didn't you say we're getting a new fire department?
No. That's on the west side of the county we're working on. That's actually going to be a closer, it's between 20 or 21 right now. We're not really certain because we haven't had the property bought. We keep getting into conversations and they keep getting shut down.
Yeah.
So,
But if we could alleviate the number of voters in 13 and pull those in the next available space, I mean, or if you want to fold more of this into 2, but the voting precinct for 2 is here, I mean,
I would
there's
say-
plenty of room, but
I
I
would be
would think it'd be
hesitant.
nicer to put them in Aquila.
I'd say so, especially on FM 933. That's an easy access for
Mhm.
anybody. This area right here has several dozen homes in it up here by the lake. So pulling that into Aquila, it's going to give you some relief here. I
Mhm.
think if you just take that line 1534 and across
Mhm.
and back down to start with and see what that population
Mhm.
does, because you pick up land between the lakes, you pick up these subdivisions down here around the lake. That should put some people in there, a couple hundred, I would hope.
Mhm.
And if need be, we can continue over into Prairie Valley, but
Yeah, I mean, if we did something,
yeah, like that.
yeah, and
There you
then if
go.
need to, you could always carve a little bit further north
If you
to
had
get
to, yeah.
to get a few more folks, just to try to alleviate the volume in 13. That would make a ton of help for election judges on 13.
Private Road 21040.
Whatever the feeder road is, maybe like not here, but the
There's a cut.
backside.
See, if you take private road up there to that's State Highway 22 there, okay?
So that
This
feeds
is
in. So
FM.
let's
Oh, well,
go.
here we go. Just take basically FM, 2960 to, so start at the Brazos River, private road 21040, go up FM 2960, past Prairie Valley, and then around Prairie Valley, that is, and then take County Road 2616, and it cuts back across to 2115, to 1534, and
Mhm.
start there and see what that does.
Yeah, yeah. Switching gears, same topic. Once upon a time, you talked about trying to do some type of a county support building on the western side of the county.
Correct. That's what we're working on right now.
My thinking is if we do see these lines of people, if that, any time frame,
Over a year.
what I was thinking is if we change these, try to make election day better, if at substation, be sure we could have early voting there as well in the future,
Oh, yeah, well, heckly. Definitely.
then then all these people would, I mean, most of these people don't early vote just so they want to, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do, but that would really,
I could definitely see open multiple early vote locations,
Yeah.
like having one here, one in Hillsborough, and one down there.
if we did that, man, that would make a,
Take the relief off of election day.
oh yeah.
So, yeah, right now,
Future, that's,
we haven't pinned it down, but here's what we're shooting for. This was the axis we're shooting for originally, and we keep getting pushed farther north as landowners say no and issues develop. We're actually looking at a property right here south of Huron that's going to be in 21 at this point. It's about 7 acres, has a building on it. Used to be a marble display place. It has some benefits to it because, we're looking for it, looking for efficiencies here. So number one, we all recognize that Blum's yard for the precinct commissioner is small and outdated. I haven't talked with Andy about this. He's got less than 1.5 acres there in downtown Blum. It's not fenced and they can't keep anything. This has buildings and sheds already on it, self-built. So we may be talking about consolidating a precinct barn, which would put it more centrally located in the precinct. And we would put our JP, our constable, our sheriff's office there. Because no offense, but this is just where
Yeah.
1/3 of my criminal docket comes from, those 2 addresses.
Oh, yeah.
It's just fact.
Yep.
20 Schizo 4 and 1713. We would put DPS, Parks and Wildlife wants an office on that side of the county. Be happy to
Oh,
do
yeah.
that. That's not an issue whatsoever. Then we'd have a large community voting room / courtroom for the judge because he has to hold court in his precinct. That's so centrally located. We're never going to find ourselves
JP,
out of
nice.
precinct. So by putting that whole substation over there on that side of the county, we can provide services. Because in all honesty, if you look at the population, you take a line just north of the ETJ of Whitney, just south of the ETJ of Blum, and you incorporate it, that's now the largest city by population in Hill County, if you did that. There's just so much population over here in the wild, wild west, and we need to provide services, not just law enforcement, judicial, but also our social services as well. We need to have a place for outreach for our veteran service officer because there are a good number of veterans over here that have difficulty even getting into Hillsborough. And last but not least, I would put secure parking behind it because I'm the president of the Rural Transportation Committee for this coordinating council for this 5 county region. And we're looking at ways to put that into more effect. So what I'm getting at is right now they have these buses you've seen, the short buses. We're actually trying to get Texas to change the rules for us. It's what they are. So that we can buy sedans, because the sedans are low, like crossover vehicles. You can't have an SUV, it's just too high to get some populations in. But trying to make those runs a little more efficiently, pick up those Medicaid dollars that McLennan County keeps stealing from us in order to better fund that service. And that's a regional level thing, but that transportation is important. For $2, you can get a round trip into Waco, take care of your VA needs, whatever. So, but again, having an outpost for all of that in one place on that side of the county. So it's already got a privacy fence around it. It's the price tag's high, but then again, $2 million seems like a lot of money. I just went out for bid for the Ag Extension Service, and the bids I got range from 1.9 to 2.6 million. It's just the cost of construction is through the roof right now.
Well, if you're using steel, there you go.
Yeah, no doubt. So anyway, those are things to go forward, and I have no problem. I just can't tell you for sure where it's going to land yet because we have not bought the property, but we're in those conversations now. Matter of fact, we have a meeting Friday of this week to go back over there with the necessary parties and start talking again, looking at it.
Well, that, I think, in long term to address voters' needs, yeah, if the county goes and develops something over here that could serve as a good, accessible early voting station.
Yeah. Oh, and this thing's got concrete all the way around it.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be good. No, that's
it'll work.
great, because I think it's just been sitting there doing nothing.
Correct.
So that would be,
And there's a motivated seller there because him and his wife live in White Bluff, are about to move to Arizona.
okay, nice.
I hope they'll make a pitch to him.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, I think so. If we make some of those changes here, that starts to even out the number of voters per. Aquila, same thing, that where the voting typically takes place, pretty tight.
If we get the fire department, which we have a much better relationship now than we ever had before, have some new members, we get them to move the trucks out like they did last time. That gives us the ability to just go through. Because what's been happening is you have people go in that door and they all crowd in the entrance and then they mill around. and they're trying to come back out that door. If you have a defined flow, come in the front, the south door and go out the north door and back around, I think that helped tremendously last time.
The that's awesome. That's good. I didn't get to see that on that layout. That's good.
Yeah.
The only other issue with that is parking and accessibility.
Correct. So conversations with TxDOT, this probably is not going to be addressed now by, I don't think it should be done by the primary, but here's what we've got. They've got a problem in Aquila for many years. Kids walk down the middle of FM road to the school. I started taking pictures of it, applied for safe route to school grants, things like that, got denied for those. So I sent them to Byron, and Byron got so hot under the collar about it that TxDOT got a little nasty gram that you're going to fund this. Well, TxDOT is required to fund it. However, they've been dragging their feet. They finally let it, and the guy that was the chief, not the owner, but the chief guy for this construction company gets COVID and then dies. So.
Oh, the contract was let?
The contract was let,
Oh.
stakes were put out. What they're gonna do is put a sidewalk right in front of the community, because community
Oh,
center is
nice.
right on.
Yeah.
The right away. They're gonna put a 4-foot sidewalk with ramps all the way down that area to delineate. So like, there's people say they own these fields, just to, they don't own it. That's the state's right away. But it was gonna go down the state's right away there and turn and go back up to the school. So
Nice.
you'd have a 4-foot wide sidewalk, a clear delineated area to park. I mean, it's gonna be good. Well, the guy dies. And TxDOT is, we never let anybody out of contract. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This dude died of COVID and y'all are gonna sue him? Yes, we are. I think they finally backed off that stance. They've relet the contract. But
Okay.
they don't have it back yet.
Okay.
Yeah, TxDOT is non-forgiving. When they let a
No.
contract, you perform or your bond performs. That's your choices.
Yeah.
So in the short term, it's not gonna get fixed by the primary, but the
Okay.
long term, those are all part of the
Well, that's-
accessibility over there.
If there's a long-term plan that we're working towards, that's awesome. Okay. All right, now we come to our troublesome child. These are actually very easy.
Three's a nightmare. So what do we do about 3, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Because Abbott has a great turnout in 7.
The,
I mean,
So
you've
what-
got to be careful with 3. You can only add to 3. You can't take away from 3.
this, I mean, ironically, this is, when I've played with the numbers, is something that doesn't make sense at first, but you look at it, just hear me out,
Okay, I'm working.
8 into 3.
I'm open to that.
Because population wise, even though the number of registered voters in 3 is quite high, the turnout has decreased every year. I don't understand, but it just continues to, I mean, I always have more voters in 7, 15, and 16 than in 3.
Gotcha.
So, and 3's got a great polling location.
They do.
Facility works fantastic. And, you know, to run from Bynum into there, and people do it all day long. Ironically, I can find more people to help serve
And buying
in Bynum than I can in all of 3.
Yeah.
Good people here.
Do that chat.
What's that?
We do this little section right below 3, that's part of 2. We incorporate that in 3. That's a divide line.
You talking about the green area?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of Commissioner
Precinct
Precinct
two.
2.
So we can't cross precinct lines.
I
I
mean-
get what you mean.
That's a different argument.
Yeah.
I'm not touching that argument today. I'm leaving that one
I
alone.
mean, I can see, yeah.
So the flow from Bynum folks going into 3, geographically speak, is pretty easy. You
You
know,
could split part of it into 16, part of it into 3, part of it into 7. I mean, you got some options, what I'm saying.
I think because what ends up happening is Mount Calm, Penelope, and Malone are all darn equal. You wouldn't think it, but there is a higher turnout in Penelope than Malone.
Yes, it is incredible the turnout they have.
So, you know, in our 3, we'll call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hilltop towns, little kingdoms, you know, they're all scared they're going to get folded into Hubbard. You know, nobody wants,
Brad Henley had a funny statement on that the other day. I will not repeat in open meetings.
So, and yeah, and here's the frustrating thing is Abbott's got a good voting center. Penelope, the fire station there, that's actually a really good voting place. Mount Calm is not good.
Mm-mm.
Did we move to the fire station there in the general?
It goes back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we use the city for the constitutional amendment, yeah, I get it. But That city hall is not big enough for general election stuff, but I didn't get a chance to see how that worked. If we used, I knew we moved to the fire station.
I did not see the setup on election day.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Um,
I don't know.
So, and these are all kind of evenly, spread out too. I mean, you could almost, it's.
No. I don't know what to do over there.
There's,
Tom, that's your part of the world. Your thoughts?
It doesn't have enough voters to really.
But you got the deal about 8 is, you're right, it doesn't have as many voters, but it's got people that volunteer in it. And that's the beauty about what 8 has been. I got no
Yeah.
problem splitting it up or putting it into a different precinct, but
Yeah, 'cause
recognize that those
it-
people have been our.
in a selfish way, I'd almost like to kind of split some of buying them up so I could take this person to help cover 3, this person to cover, I mean,
And my deal is I got people in Covered volunteering for Bynum that would rather work in Covered.
yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So,
I mean, but Bynum doesn't mean that's.
well, and then before you say nobody votes in Bynum, the turnout for Bynum is slightly less than Abbott, but not tremendously lower, believe it or not. I mean, of all these precincts, 3 is the troublesome child. Believe it or not.
What if we took, like you're talking about, all right, so if we slightly increased 7, we slightly increased 16, and then took this into 3, so the town of Bynum North goes into, from the south of Bynum comes up to 3.
Mhm.
And then we could take, I don't know, a dividing line, however you wanted to draw it, to come over into 7, and then put, well, I guess you could take that line across there and this as well,
Mhm.
and try to split that. I don't know how the population looks on the ground,
Right.
but try to split it amongst the 3 and consolidate 1 there.
Because that would, if you did, that would give you 1, 2, 3, 4. That still gives you
5, yeah.
5.
Yeah,
I mean, I've played with the numbers. I've looked at geography, drive time, turnout, and there's either you piss off everybody or you leave it alone almost.
well, I think,
Like, well, we had this over here this election, and now we don't know where it goes.
I-
Want to drive all the way from Aquila to Whitney, so.
I follow. Like I said, 4, 1, and 2 are fairly easy to deal
Yes,
with.
those are pretty easy to deal with.
It's just the layout of 3 makes it somewhat difficult because you don't have a good north-south access on the western track of.
Yeah, I mean, this area feeds out this way. That area feeds out this way. Mount Calm feeds out that way. This, these Malone and Bynum tying together,
Mhm.
Geographically makes some sense. But I don't know. I've been looking at that for 6 years and I can't have something that,
I see adding more to 3 though. I
Yeah.
definitely see adding to 3.
yeah.
And then if it comes down to it, we're trying to consolidate. So if you take 8 out, so we got 3, 8, 16, 7, 15, 23, 22. I can take 8 out, that still gives me 6.
I know. It's crazy. It'd be nice to try to do one more combined.
I agree.
And I'm just not sure, who becomes.
Yeah, the way the towns are located, that makes it difficult. And just one time.
Yeah, but you got the schools, one night, that won't change at all.
No, not for us. I mean, they're,
Yeah, at least it does change the voting precinct line, but hopefully where they vote doesn't. We're not jacking school, I'm not jacking commissioner, all those things, it doesn't matter. It's just trying to, but yeah, I mean, that's like I almost am buying them with 3 because I could trust these people to run my for 3. And, that gives it plain enough to serve.
Yeah.
But then that kind of, makes these 3 or these 4 are fairly even sized right now. But they're, 7 sometimes tough to find judges. Right now, Penelope, Lisa Casper served forever and she recruited
oh, yeah.
and to serve, which is great. And then for Mount Calm, Kay's been doing it forever, but she's not going to do it forever. And I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I mean, okay, all right, let's just call a spade a spade. This is what would be the perfect thing to do. You combine 3, 8, and 7. You combine 16, 15, and 23, and you need 24 low.
I would say, yeah, no doubt.
And then Penelope becomes your vote center for these folks. Abbott drives into Hillsborough anyway. These people go to there to vote anyway. And then Hubbard's got enough population by itself.
I like the idea a lot. the only reason I think we don't survive that or the challenge is 3. Is because diluting the minority vote over there is something that, Professor Morrison said we had to take into consideration. So if we go in.
But it's not,
I know.
it's not, because it doesn't, I mean, I understand what you're saying. However, it doesn't dilute their representation because you're not changing any person they're voting for.
That's a good argument, no doubt. And I said, just repeating what Professor Byer told us to be, not Byer, forgive me, Professor Morrison told us to be cognizant of those things.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have a huge issue with it. I mean, if we consolidated all that, all right, so you leave Hubbard, but you actually increase the size of 24. You add more into 24. Then, that Mount Calm to Penelope area over there, you just basically pull.
Yeah, I mean, because and Penelope becomes your hinge, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, to drive from here to Penelope is no big deal, and to drive from Mount Calm to it's a little jiggity jog. I mean, Mount Calm flows more towards Hubbard.
31's a better route, yeah.
So I mean, if anything, maybe you fold 23 into Hubbard, and if you got too many, I don't know, you could look at flipping it. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, then that'd give you 1, 2, 3. That gives you 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Wait, 1, 2, 3. This would be 4 in that one. Then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. If I show a spreadsheet, if you add that together, I bet that ends up being fairly.
14.
Mhm.
14, 15.
Which is far more in keeping with a county of our size overall population.
I agree. You guys thoughts on that one, 3? Precinct Commissioner JP.
I
You're
mean,
talking about putting about 23 into 24 and 16 into 15?
from a numbers wise, in terms of registered voters, say, combining 16, 15, and 23 would be better numbers wise. However, I think that could be construed as putting a little bit of undue burden on the Mount Calm folks. Because yes, you can get from Mount Calm jiggity to Penelope, but it's empty country. Nope.
Yeah.
Nobody usually goes. I mean, every time I've run it, I've never passed anybody.
Yeah, 339 is not a fun road to drive.
So, oh yeah, it is.
White knuckle and terrifying.
So, the look is, if we force these to combine, okay, Mount Calm, sorry, we're gonna do some combining. And I mean, if we're gonna do it, flowing up to Hubbard is a much more logical flow for those folks. They're gonna kick and scream. Well, actually, Penelope and Mount Calm will kick and scream more than the Malone folks.
I
But-
get more complaints when I consolidate on the west side of the county. Like taking
Down here,
18, 16, and 15 together.
Mhm.
Like on election.
okay. So, yeah, it's, like I said, I think there's some pretty easy works to even those out. Ideally, if we're gonna go with the whole idea, we're just trying to reduce the overall number of voting precincts to be sure we have better trained judges and people to serve in that area. But yeah, they're gonna, but to go from Abbott to there to vote, because I don't think having people from here to drive out to Bynum to vote, it's a little, or forcing these folks to come to Abbott. I think maybe keep the voting location there, because most of these folks flow that way. And from Abbott, you go up 35 right to there.
Honestly, 3 has the best out of those.
Yeah,
As far as as long as Central Baptist is what she.
yeah. And I would,
Number 14.
that'd be awesome.
2 less than you're shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
2 more than the lowest.
yeah, that's true.
So what, if we is there some way then to sit down with these lines with the guy and look at the head count and see?
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit down, right after this, I'm going to send an email to Professor Morrison, hey, we've got a tentative plan. I need to sit down with you and show you what we're gonna do, what our game plan is. Let's, do some outlining on this map. So I got an outline map to draw all over it.
Okay.
Kind of what you're thinking.
So we kind of got this,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, if we get that down to 14 voting precincts, that'd be pretty
Yeah.
substantial.
and
Then
then
you're saying having 3 early vote stations.
long-term, we'll answer for everybody who's feeling like they're
Mhm.
disenfranchised, like, well, we're gonna move an early vote. Oh, that- I mean-
If you want to do, yeah, exactly that. Early vote, Locations, they can't complain about.
Well, I know I'm pushing hard here, but we redo this map, that frees up the machines to do 3 early vote locations by
Oh.
primary.
you still need the same number of machines.
Well, for early vote, remember we have.
Oh, early vote, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
early vote. No, you're right for everything else, but we've got to have 2 more machines for early vote because we're gonna have 2 additional locations.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, it depends on the size of the election too, so I mean, we're having.
Yes, if you got more locations, you're gonna need, yeah.
So-
but those are cheap compared to,
Oh, I agree. I
you know,
agree.
relative.
So what I'm getting at is that we need 3 machines to run early vote if we have 3 locations,
You need 9 overall.
9 overall.
Well, like I said, depending on the size of the election, like for the general, I had 2 prints, 188 in the state.
Okay, 2 prints, 188, 1 scan.
We would have to get a few more.
Okay, well, that's within the realm of possibility. That's completely within the realm of possibility. So
Just to have-
if we started looking towards our primary and holding, I want to roll this all out at once so people don't think that we're just,
Yeah.
a bunch of horse affairs here. If for the primary, we were going to do early vote, how would we pull that off?
In what sense?
All right, so 1 in Hillsborough, and then we put 1 down in Hubbard.
Mhm.
And then we located an area over here for right now, because I don't have a western output yet, but somewhere over here, either
Yeah.
McAllen Valley Community Center
Yeah.
or whatever for early vote.
As long as it has actual connection ports for the check-in system, because all that needs to flow back to us, so I can do reports at the end of the night.
Okay, I can get you the hockey pucks, that kind of stuff, the first net,
Yes,
the
I'll
mobile
get you
internet
internet
devices.
for the check-in, that's good.
Okay, so that's something we could possibly roll out for the primaries.
That would be, I think if we talk about combining, everybody's like, well, I said, oh, hold on now, but we're also, I like it.
I think it's a better sales pitch personally.
And
You're right, people are gonna get pissed about this no matter what. Excuse my
Oh, yeah.
language, I did not mean to curse in public meeting. People are gonna get upset about this because it's change. People don't like change. I get it. But we cannot continue down the path we've been on. It's inefficient, it's too much room for human error, and we need to get better at this. And I think,
we need fewer locations that we can better staff, better train, better equip to deal with the increasing complexities that life keeps throwing at us.
yeah, every time the Congress gets together, every time our state house gets together, we find new requirements for us.
Yeah. And if we have fewer polling locations that can better serve, it's gonna just increase our ability to be flexible to meet whatever mandate, whatever issue we're being thrown at. And then I like the idea of ameliorating concerns with driving to the polling location election day. Said, well, our solution to that is we're gonna provide early voting closer to you. Because, the trend is everybody wants to early vote, which is good.
Yeah, just again, that's what looking at the numbers here. You talk about a few people voting in Brandon, even though in Brandon there was 356 that voted, most of that was early voting, so everybody's coming to help.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And if you make it easier, and even though there's a fair number of people who will vote for Whitney early vote, your turnout election day is like in 13 is gargantuan. And then even in Hubbard to a degree, but nobody here early votes hardly. All
No,
right.
it's just too far away.
It's too far away. And then so nobody early votes hardly from here. Yes, you think it's a lot, but then you look at election day turnout, and it's like, oh, so if we could early vote here and here, we could probably get 70% of our vote done on early vote.
Which would be cool.
Well, there's early voting is having run with the joy of crises on election day. I like, early voting is nice because if there's an issue, it's easier for you to deal with 1 or 2 polling locations instead of 22.
Yeah.
we can be sure that those folks are, it's a little more work, and Tom and I part to try to help you find more early voting judges and clerks to work, but that's fine.
Well, and that again is another way, like I had talked to you about getting, like any of our election judges that want like refreshers, they can work early.
And then more opportunity for them to serve, to be sure they're trained up ready to go election day. Yeah. No, I mean,
We have the three locations out of all of the judges, and I'm pretty sure all of them can get training in on that.
I think if we can say we're gonna do that, that will, yeah, they'll still be weeping and gnashing of teeth, but it's like, look, we've got to make some changes in this county. I understand you don't want to change. The whole world is, there's complexities coming to hit us. And by default, doing it that way, it's not an early vote center, but it operates that way in a lot of ways, just the way people move in the county. Very few people from this part of the county traverse over here. So
I mean, if you want a tank of gas, a loaf of bread, you gotta go to Hubbard from Mount Palm. From Penelope, you're going to Hubbard, you're going.
well, the idea with the vote centers, it doesn't matter where you go in the county, you could vote there.
And ultimately.
People don't move that way in this county.
Ultimately, I want to do that. I'm hesitant to roll out that narrative prior to the primary, because people get the idea, oh, I can show up and vote where I want to, because we're still at the mercy of the state until the Secretary of State
Changes that stupid word.
You know, kidding. We're stuck, but as soon as we can move the voting centers, I would totally vote to do that. I would be all over that, because while this map would come into play for some things, it'd make it irrelevant. Wherever somebody wanted to go to vote, they go vote. If you have to be in Hillsborough to get your bread that day, and that's where you wanted to vote,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, no, and a vote center does make it far easier for the voter to cast a ballot. It puts more work on the election administrator to figure that all out, but
I'm
with our
willing-
new,
I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
but with our new heart system, that's,
Makes it very technical.
yes, yeah, a little more thinking, but it's we have made the investment in infrastructure to do that.
I agree. Well, guys, I think we got a generally good idea here. What I would like to do then is I'm gonna take, and send an email to Mr. Morrison and see if he wants to either A, come down here like he did 10 years ago and have conversations, or what his druthers is, and then I'll get back with the group through Paula. Obviously, I do that for no other reason than quorum laws, walking quorum. I have to be careful that we don't respond to those emails. So when I send out group deals, I try to go through Paula for that purpose. And please, if you have a question about any of those emails, respond to me individually, not back to the group, just so we keep the AG happy on this thing. That being said, we'll formulate a plan as quickly as possible. We're still on the 12th, next week, to talk about, not the 12th, sorry, 22nd, to go ahead and move forward with commissioners, constables, and JP lines, because these don't have to be simultaneously. So we're gonna get JP constable commissioners done in the next 2 weeks, but at the same time, we'll start on this. And my goal is to have this done before the end of December.
Yeah,
Because we'll
absolutely.
be
Have to.
done before Thanksgiving with the constables, commissioners, and JPs, and then can have this done before Christmas. And that means we're plenty of time to start reprogramming before the primary.
These are precinct chair filings. I think there's an additional precinct chair filing period.
It's after the primary.
It's at all precinct chairs will be filing after November 29th, and because all elections for precinct chairs will be held in a runoff election, whether we have a runoff
Or
or
not.
not, so the precinct chairs will be elected.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? That's,
I didn't see that.
yeah, no, it's
Because
nuts.
of the changing of the precincts
Uh-huh.
in the individual counties, they don't know what precincts they're going to be living in.
So if I have a contested
We're
precinct chair race,
We're holding an election.
oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, I didn't want to ruin anybody's day. We get to that when we get to it. How many times have we had that happen?
But we're gonna have a runoff election, most likely for AG and possibly, land commissioner, I don't know.
I suspect there'll be somebody's gonna wind up in a runoff. for
Yeah.
sure. I really do.
Yeah,
So.
state-wise, I don't think locally,
No.
who knows? I mean, filing period hasn't happened, but I haven't heard a whole lot of, not hardly any contested races.
Most of
So-
what I've heard is going to be rumor and ego at this point. I really don't see too much coming out. People aren't campaigning, and you would need to start campaigning. a while
Now,
back.
or you already have, yeah. Okay.
So, all right, well, good deal. Any other further commentary on the maps? Anything else we need to do?
I like it. I like the combination, and I like the moving towards having 3 early voting locations. That ultimately, that is the best way to serve the voters of Hill County.
I think so.
And to combining these precincts is going to make it easier on Tom and I to recruit. It gives us larger pods, larger populations to pull from for precinct chairs and election judges. And it's just fewer people that we need to have trained up.
And I still think it's enough that we're not disenfranchising
No,
anybody
no.
here whatsoever. I think that you'll hear claims that people don't like it, but
Sure.
I think that you look at it with a non-biased eye, and you're going to see that, no, we've done what we can here on this proposal in order to equalize turnout, in order to equalize populations to some degree. They're not going to be exact, nor is it the requirement to be.
Yeah.
But again, trying to make it easier to vote, more efficient, safer, fair, better voting, and that's it.
Yeah, because the crowding of 21, 22, and 13 hopefully could be taken care of. I mean, I still like this ultimately as a plan, but if we have an early voting there, hopefully these folks would do, and to alleviate some of the pressures on election day there. If we have early voting here, I think there's going to be hardly anybody voting during election day in this part of the county.
I think
so.
locations like that, I think that would actually alleviate the turnout on election.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Make
just
it easier so we don't have to go.
And before somebody goes like, well, election day is where you're supposed to vote, I said, look, after dealing with COVID and doing all this other stuff, anything you can do to decentralize and spread out while allowing access has proven to be the best solution to deal with whatever life's going to throw at us. Because I can guarantee you, 2021 was bad. 2021 is the gift that keeps giving. I'm scared to death to see what 2022's got up its sleeve.
Yeah.
all right, gentlemen, is there anything further than on the election voting precincts? If not, we have a regular scheduled meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. Forgive me, I don't have the exact day on it, but I will try to hold our next meeting on that date. That was a quarterly meeting we had set up.
Oh, we did talk about that.
For conversation regarding anything coming about this map. We have setting that agenda 2 weeks or next week, the 10th of November, correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, 10th of November is what we have, election commission meeting. That's a actually regularly stated meeting. I hope to have something to report back to you by at that point, or well before that point, and we can discuss any changes, anything the professor comes back with and says, yes, this works, no, this doesn't work, or for some huge discrepancy. So So good. Having our next meeting is going to be the 10th of November. We decided at 8:30 a.m. in this courtroom, or if not in this courtroom, it'll be across the hall in the law library. I have not allowed the guys to tear this courtroom up yet. The subfloor has to be replaced due to the flooding. Hey, I hate this construction crew at this point. It's killing me. And so I'm not allowing them to tear this thing up to the very last project in this courthouse.
So at least have other spaces finished, yeah.
Correct.
Good.
So anyway, with that being said, if there's nothing further at this point, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Gentlemen, we stand adjourned. Thank you for your attention to matters today.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. Change. Okay.
I gotta go to the middle of the house, you know.
All right.
Take it easy. Tim.
All right, Aaron, I will do what I can to stir up some more bodies here and see. Justin, you got a quick second?